Good morning. It's good to see you all on this beautiful, beautiful Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for coming and thanks for sitting up close so we feel, cozy together. The words this morning are from our gray hymnal, an anonymous source. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. Let's sing hymn number 1000 in the teal hymnal, Morning Has Come.
Good morning. Welcome to First Parish in Milton. My name is Steve Yakutis, and I'm a member of the Worship Committee. If you're having trouble hearing us, please raise your hand in the meeting house or message us in the chat function on Zoom, and we can adjust the sound. We are so glad that you have chosen to be here with us this morning or join us virtually. However your journey, whatever your heritage, and whomever you love, you are welcome here. Your presence here on Sunday morning enriches worship for everyone. This sanctuary is made holy by your presence. If you're joining us for the first time, a special welcome. You'll find information about First Parish in your pew. Amy or I will be happy to answer any questions you might have, and any of us would welcome the opportunity to walk with you to social hour after service. The work of living our faith is done both in and out of worship, so I call your attention to the printed announcements that came with your order of worship or found in the emailed link. In particular, there are 4 important things to talk about today. Next Sunday, June 2nd, is Flower Communion. This is a time for congregants to bring a flower to share, and if you have an abundant garden, this beautiful or early summer, please bring more than one flower to share for those whose gardens are overcome with dandelions and such. On the 9th, the following Sunday, the membership committee will host our annual end of the church year picnic. It's going to be a potluck feast. For those of you who have been with us in the past, you know very well the kind of food that shows up. It is phenomenal, delicious, bring your full appetite. And Lisa White will have a sign-up sheet oh, that's for the auction, right? Okay, we'll get to that. Leslie McPherson will be also at Social Hour, and there's a sign-up genius for the food that you're going to bring and for help before or after with setup and cleanup. Following that, Saturday, June 22nd, the first parish yard sale is almost here. Lisa White will have information about that, a sign-up sheet at the Social Hour, and there will be more information. Keep watching the link for that. And lastly, summer services are just around the corner. A reminder that they are an hour earlier. They start at 9:30, and we still have a few spots available. So again, you can speak to Lisa or myself at Social Hour if you are inspired, interested, or terrified and simply want encouragement. Now, let's take a few minutes to greet one another and extend a warm welcome to old friends and new. For those on Zoom, please turn on your video and go to the gallery view so you can say hello to others zooming in.
Good morning, everybody.
Hi, Ed. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well.
Good. Good.
Yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm in New Hampshire. It's a beautiful day,
Excellent.
and I couldn't be happier. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Dottie. Hi, Ed.
Hello,
Hi,
Mary.
Tim, if you're there, and Elizabeth, if you're there.
What's that?
Are you in Milton, Mary?
I am. Yeah, we've been up in Provincetown for a couple of days, and it was just gorgeous. And we beat the crowds.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was really lovely there.
As we enter into worship, please
Okay.
take a moment to make sure
Hi.
cell phones are silenced. Now is the moment when we can focus on being here, when we can choose to connect with ourselves and the divine, when we can choose to just be present. Flame of our faith, call us into the community of love and justice this morning and every morning. Please join me in saying the call to worship, which is on the laminated page in your pew, number 1. Come, let us gather. We gather to celebrate the sacred within and among us. We come to seek spiritual growth and understanding. We strive to practice acceptance, forgiveness, and love. Together, we work to build a world with justice and compassion. Come, let us gather together.
So, as you know, this weekend is Memorial Day weekend, and tomorrow is a day when people are going to dedicate some part of the day to remembering people who have done things to help our lives, mostly soldiers and loved ones of soldiers who have been to war and who have died. There are many ways, though, that we can celebrate the fact that we are alive and that we've learned in our life because of what people have done. Sort of the practice of, I think this might be a little loud. Is anybody hearing the tone? Yeah, just a teensy bit. Thank you. Thank you. That people have done things in our lives that we can be grateful for and respect for what they have given to our lives. So we thought we'd do a little bit of practicing that this morning, and Steve and I are going to do it together. So we're going to just share a few. So the first one I thought of was a teacher. Her name is Lynn Cullinane, and she was my junior high teacher. And she was so kind and so good at what she did that she really, I felt when I would go into the room that I was worthy, just like the rest of us were. And I have a reading disability where I have trouble with focusing. And I remember watching her read, and she would take a ruler and go like this as she read. And I thought, ooh, well, maybe she too, has a little bit of struggle reading the written word. And she really she's still in my mind as someone who helped me feel worthy, who helped me feel like I had a place in the world.
I'm also thinking about a teacher who I think of as my first mentor, a woman named Marlene Montgomery. And she was a musician, a singer. She could play any instrument. And she taught me a lot about trusting myself as a musician, as an artist. And she gave me the courage to go that route with my life, that I could, in fact, teach and be creative and make my way in the world. So I treasure that memory of Marlene.
So are there people here that have teachers that they feel have really helped them figure out their lives, feel good in their lives about themselves? You want to just raise your hand if you have? There we go, plenty. So I am also, in terms of remembrance and celebration and honor, I think about my father, Jack Ward, who near the end of World War II, he was a medical student, and near the end of World War II, he was going to be a medic in the Navy. The war just basically ended about 3 months after he joined in, but he was somebody that stepped up to try to help people heal in many different ways. And so I want to honor his service and his choice. He was a psychiatrist, so his choice to serve others for the rest of his life. So I learned a lot from that, and I'm grateful for that.
I think about my grandfather, George Roger Sturdivant, who was born in 1896, and he served as a civil engineer in the First World War. He was going to be building railroads to aid the front, and he arrived in France about a week before the armistice was signed. And one of the treasures that we have in our family is his World War I uniform.
So anybody here connected with folk in the military or folk who know folk in the military that feel their lives have been changed? And just one more to think about all the different ways you can remember and be grateful for people who have influenced your lives is friendship. And I remember Sally Osman. We were best friends from age 6 all through our childhood, and then we kind of lost touch for a little while, and about 20 years ago we got back together, and she still is a friend of mine, and she really helped me as a child. We really were very close and supported one another, and I just feel, after 60 years of friendship, so grateful that she has maintained an affection and a sense of belonging together.
I'm thinking of a friend from college, 45 years or more, Jeff Goldman. He and I did a lot of theater together. We did projects together. We hiked on the Appalachian Trail together. And we kind of lost touch for about 15 years. Last summer, he visited us after hiking in Vermont during that horrible rainy season. And in April, I went down to Philadelphia to visit him. I hold him in my memory. We have a history a rich history of laughter and shared joy. Goes back 45 years.
So anyone here have a friend that they feel has helped change their lives for the good? Yes. So let's just, for a minute, anyone that you can think of who you are grateful for, that helped change your life, move you, or helped you live your life, which is a lot of what Memorial Day is about, people's that went to war to try and help us live in this free nation. So anything, if it be a friend, a teacher, a family member, a soldier, just think for a minute of somebody, just one person that really supported your life in a way that helped you. And then if you'd be so kind as to just share that with someone near you. It is good to celebrate others. It's good to remember how they help you in your lives. It is good to know that we all affect each other. And hopefully tomorrow you will find a way to be grateful for those that helped you live your lives. So let's sing children to their assignment today. And today we're going to go outside this way because you're going to do some cool planting of herbs. So let's gather our hearts and minds and bodies into a time of stillness. Nourish ourselves in our lives. Give our breath attention and feel it flow through your body and into the air to help trees breathe. Blessings be.
Today's reading is a poem called Memorial Day by Clara Ann Thompson, a poet, teacher, and civil rights advocate who was born on January 22nd, 1869, in Rosmaine, Ohio. The middle-born daughter of formerly enslaved parents, John Henry and Clara Jane. Clara Jane was educated in the arts and prepared for a teaching career. Memorial Day. Go, for 'tis Memorial Morning. Go with hearts of peace and love, deck the graves of fallen soldiers. Go, your gratitude to prove. Gather flowers and take them thither, emblem of a nation's tears. Grateful hearts cannot forget them in the rush of passing years. Strew the flowers above their couches. Let thy heart's affections blend with the dewy buds and blossoms that in fragrant showers descend. Strew the flowers above the heroes, slain for loving friends and thee. Canst thou find a better offering for those sons of liberty? While the buds and blooms are falling, earnest hearts are asking why, in a tone, though low and gentle, yet as ardent as a cry, why must precious lives be given that our country may be free? Is there not a nobler pathway to the throne of liberty? Can we choose no nobler watchword than the ringing battle cry, harbinger of strife and bloodshed? Must we sin that sin may die? Long ago, to far Judea, came the blessed Prince of Peace. Shall we ever heed his teaching that these wars and feuds may cease? Please join me in singing hymn number 128, For All That Is Our Life, in the gray hymnal, Rise As You Are Able.
In my mid-20s, I became close friends with a Vietnam veteran who opened my eyes in many ways to the enormous task of serving our country in the military. How it encompasses all of one's being, physical, emotional, and spiritual. He opened my eyes as well to aspects of the Vietnam War era that I had not considered, really, and how our mistakes regarding veterans of that war, especially right after the fall of Saigon, still manifest today in ways that many yearn to overlook, let alone the ways we respond to or set aside all the wars that have followed. This friend, whom I'll call Carl, was 19 when he decided one summer to join the Army. 6 months into his first tour in Vietnam, this 19-year-old became the officer of his squad, having survived longer than anyone else in the unit. On one mission that he was then leading, wading through a bog, the impact of one bomb falling in the bog shattered everyone's legs. In the blink of an eye, his entire squad drowned by the weight of the heavy packs on their backs. He, an experienced lifeguard, barely survived with both legs shattered, having been able to offload his gear just in time to gasp for breath. Not even 20. He had experienced aspects of life that relatively few, though more than we'd like to think, can fathom. His journey of recovery, I'm sure, continues today in subtler forms, but the first 15 years before I met him offered enormous challenges of heart and mind. His family was instructed to treat him like a dangerous man when he came back and re-entered into this country. So he experienced profound abandonment when he returned to the country and family he was fighting for. He struggled with addiction and unemployment, with a changed personality in a newly strange land called civilization. Hearing Carl's stories was more important than I knew before and after his brave sharing. The telling and retelling of his story and the remembering of his compatriots who had died can strengthen those with eyes to see and ears to hear, to strive for a better world and a better way of shaping our world. Memorial Day is about the call to remembrance. It is a spiritual discipline. It's about honoring those who gave of themselves with the understanding that they were serving a larger hope for humanity, free from tyranny. It's about calling ourselves to account and asking ourselves if indeed we are returning the devotion, if indeed we are honoring the life we are living. Strew the flowers above the heroes slain for loving friends and thee, wrote Clara Ann Thompson some 100 years ago. Canst thou find a better offering for those sons of liberty? A sacrifice of a soldier's life is a reminder of our own. How are we living this existence that's been anonymously supported by a soldier's service unto death? How are we supporting the promise of life for all? Are we truly grateful for what is good in our lives? Are we truly hopeful that all may experience well-being, that all may come to their fullness of life without violence? Part of the discipline of the call to remembrance is about acknowledging that the loss of life is not all that is asked of us. The life lived needs our response, needs our notice, needs our grief, needs our hope and intention that it won't have to happen again. By the time we invaded Iraq as a nation, though vocally and vehemently against the decision, I learned a great deal about the myths that are popular about the military. First of all, it's not the military, but the civilians who are far more ready to wage war on average. It's the civilians who treat it like a contest of wills, a righteous battle, and a championing of our military strength. Bring it on, said President Bush, who never served in the military or in the war. The vast majority in the military know that war is and what it does, and they do not rush to be engaged in it. They go unordered, but on average, they do not seek it. As a culture, we send them there. We encourage them to fight for us. Those who serve are willing to devote themselves for a larger logic that they trust is for the greater good. They chose to trust the nation that encouraged them to do this. And this is what we do when we choose to serve in any capacity. We find ourselves in the midst of a life ready to contribute to it. We serve the many reasons, whether in the military or the ministry, in education or politics, in parenting or caregiving. We see the larger need that calls for our devotion. The language of sacrifice, especially this weekend, is something that is used a great deal in speaking of the military and war. We couch the lives lost as a tragic necessity for the cause of this nation. But we lean too heavily on the soldier's sacrifice of life for us. We spend less time looking at the loss of opportunity to do something different to prevent further deaths. When we make sacrifice noble, then we're telling people that the point of their lives is to lose them. When we make suffering noble, then we are telling people that the aspiration of wholeness, of wellness in the world is less powerful, less worthy than the one who boldly suffers. However, Memorial Day can be a day to remember how we are pulled into war and how so many are sacrificed because of our collective choice to engage conflict in this way. There are many who would say that war is inevitable. On Memorial Day, as we lift up the loss and devastation, we can also ask ourselves why we choose to make war inevitable. There's a wide spectrum of loss that occurs in war. There is loss of life, which is readily recognized. There's also loss of limbs, loss of ability, loss of peace of mind, loss of perspective, loss of meaning, loss of hope, loss of the will to live. Though not scientifically dead, some soldiers are struggling with the loss of the life they knew, with feeling dead inside. According to the Department of Veteran Affairs, the reported suicide rate among veterans in 2021 was 33.9%, a 1.3% increase from 2020. This equates to nearly 6,400 reported suicides, with a little over 6,000 who were male identified. Veterans have a suicide rate that is 1.5 times higher than the general population. They make up almost a quarter of suicide deaths in the United States. The death of these soldiers need to be included in the call to remembrance on Memorial Day, let alone the devastating changes in the lives of loved ones. The ravages of war are a part of the lives of anyone who has direct connection to them. We ask our soldiers and medics and chaplains and loved ones to risk their whole being for the sake of our missions. And that, frankly, affects all of us. Or perhaps I could say, infects all of us. So much goes into the shaping of our lives and of our future, the choices we make, the devotions we nourish, the people we welcome into our lives, and those who welcome us. The call to remembrance helps inform our next choices, our next devotions, the connections we choose. The call to remembrance is not to foster regret or shame or blame. It is to inspire gratitude, humility, and courage to honor this life we are given, a life we should not take away from others. We may not want to remind ourselves of the sacrifices of others. We may not feel worthy of them. And yet we are here, each and every one of us, worthy of the task to add our heart's wisdom to the forming of the world, worthy as well to honor those whose choices have supported our lives, worthy in every breath to make that life fought for a beauty to behold. One of the grounding principles of Unitarian Universalism is the claim that we're capable of cherishing the wisdom of interdependence and must promise its healing dynamic and promote it. It's a faith that insists on the power of mutuality and community to come to a greater wisdom. It becomes ever clearer, connection by connection, how intricately we affect one another in the forming of our lives. We simply cannot avoid interdependence, whether we pay attention to it or not. This fact alone blessedly challenges us to ask ourselves what living together in this world really means. Sometimes it's hard to open ourselves to truth that breaks our hearts or overwhelms us. Sometimes it's hard to know what to say when thank you just doesn't seem like enough. What we do when we honor people who have suffered great loss or lost their lives due to war is claim their worthiness in our being together. The greatest tribute we could give is to make life worth living for all peoples. This I pray. Amen. Let's sing together hymn number 168, One More Step. Please rise as you're able in body and spirit. Let us join our hearts in the spirit of prayer. Sacred One that flows through all our being in rivers and breath and wind, in our hearts and minds and bodies. Help us feel the true wonder and gift of life. Help those who have lost their way find someone that can point a way or an experience that can guide them to knowing their deep worth in this life we are given. For those who have a sadness that is overwhelming, may we hold them and find them having courage for one more step, one more thought, one more day, till things rise out of that depth into seeing the world as a place of possibility. In this time of Memorial Day weekend, where we're celebrating each other, or just a little bit more rest, or watching a wonderful parade of honor, may we lift up our thanks to all who have helped us live our lives. And in our brokenness, may we be gentle. And may we reach toward helping one another. This I pray. Amen.
Today's offering is dedicated to the services and ministry of First Parish Milton. To give, please follow the instructions printed in your order of worship or shown on the Zoom screen. For those in the meeting house, you may also deposit cash or check into the collection plate located at the main or side entrance at the end of the service. If you are proud of this church, become its advocate. If you care about its future, share its message. We welcome all to build a just and healthy world with faith, love, and compassion. Please support our faith community by giving as generously as you can. If you will please join me in the unison dedication, number 4 in your laminated cards. May these gifts be transformed into strength for this faith community, into comfort, food, and shelter for those in need, and may we be transformed by generosity. please rise as you are able and join in the doxology?
As I extinguish the chalice, may the flame of our faith burn deep and wide within us. May we bring out our wisdom for peace and compassion and honor and celebration, and find this world and the shaping of this world in new and brighter ways. Have a good week. Amen.